All right. Hey, folks. So I had a really good question in the comments yesterday. So I want to address that and make a video on it. And it was when to change exercises in your routine. So firstly, thanks for making it onto my channel. If you have a question or comment, please pop it down below. And if you would like to work on with me on your own physique and strength goals, there is a link in the description. So this was a really good question, and it was from Simon. So I'll just show you what he said. Hey, Faz, how many weeks would you recommend sticking with the same exercise? Any specific number of weeks or until progress stalls? So thanks for that question, Simon. And Simon's a regular contributor to the channel, so I appreciate that. Now, my first question is, why are we focused on switching exercises? That's my first question. Where is that coming from? Oftentimes, I think people think this is just part of what they need to do. So for example, you get a new guy, 18-year-old kid wants to go to the gym for the first time. The very first question he asks is, what supplements do I take? Or even worse, what steroids do I take, right? So people assume switching exercises is part and parcel of training. People just assume it's inherently bred into routines. Like, yep, you do a routine, then you got to switch things around for a while. But I've got to ask why. Where does that come from? Maybe question that concept first of all. And I think that's a good launching point for this video. Firstly, question, why am I changing exercises? Why am I even thinking about changing exercises at this point? Has a problem come up that I'm responding to, or am I just responding to something that's not even there? That's the mindset. I think there's got to be a switch in mentality. So firstly, let's go on to some notes about why you should stick to the same exercise. So, right, sticking to the same exercise. Now, firstly, I think you've got to understand strength and growth, strength and hypertrophy is not linear. You can stall for a little while. Growth stalls noticeably. Strength can stall as well. So I like to implement something like a 2-week rule. And that means if you haven't made any discernible progress in 2 weeks, that means you've officially hit a plateau and we can't move on. So let's say, for example, you did 80 kilos on the bench, right? And you did that for, I don't know, 6, 5, 5. Okay, just for argument's sake, right? And so the next week you did a bench for 7, 6, 5. So you just got one more rep. You're like, damn, this is crap. I've just got one more rep. This sucks. Faz, what do I do? So I change exercise. I was like, hold on. Let's wait another week. And the next week you get 7, 7, 5. So actually in those 2 weeks, you've added 2 reps. And you think that might be a plateau because like, look, I've handled 80 kilos for moderate reps for a couple of weeks, but actually you've been gaining. You've been gaining strength. You've gained a couple of extra reps. Now it might be the case that sure you could gain more. You might not be satisfied with that level of progress, but the bottom line is you're still gaining. You're still therefore accruing lean muscle tissue. Regardless of whether the strength isn't coming up with that fast or not, you are still gaining. Now, the reason for the slow growth, and oftentimes slow growth occurs in the lifts which you are the most practiced on. So I tend to get a lot of guys who do slow down with the bench press in particular, rather than a squat or deadlift. Why is that? Well, it's quite easy. It's because they're very well practiced on the bench press. So the progress stalls on that sooner than everything else. So strength isn't always linear. And it can slow down and it can come slowly. Wait for 2 weeks to establish whether you actually have hit a plateau. And the next point is, are you able to eke out a rep or 2? So that's still progress. I think a lot of people have this misconception that they need to be adding 5 or 10 kilos to the bar every week. It's just not true. Not even 2.5 kilos or 5 pounds for most people is going to be a reasonable amount to add to the bar, assuming you're keeping the reps the same. When you go up in weight, odds are you're probably going to drop some reps, and that's quite normal. Doesn't mean you've stalled. Doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It'll need a week or 2 to actually determine whether you're progressing or not, because then the next week you can pick up the reps again. So the first couple of points is just make sure, even if progress is slow, which is really all you can expect as a natural, which is what my channel mostly speaks to, then just make sure you're still actually getting a rep or 2 extra. If you are, then stick with it because you're still progressing. And if you were to change a different exercise now, you would definitely make no gains on that exercise because you would have switched it out. Next is, I have a concept which I refer to as the markers of progression concept. And what I do is I get people to pick about 3 exercises per training block. And one exercise is normally a push, The other exercise is normally a pull, and you guessed it, the last exercise is normally something to do with the legs, right? So a push, a pull, and a leg. Pick one major compound exercise from each category and use those as your markers of progression. So in terms of when do you switch? Well, you switch when you hit your goal, right? So let's say you've got a goal of bench pressing 2 plates aside for a set of 10, which is a great goal. But right now you're at a plate aside for a set of 10. When do you switch exercises? Well, you might never switch to bench press out. You might always have that in the back of your head. You might never want to switch to bench press out. You might be doing 5 exercises for the chest every week. You might want to keep the bench in as that sole exercise for maybe the next 3 years, then maybe the next 5 years, however long it takes for you to get to that goal, because you know by the time you get to 2 plates for a set of 10, you're going to be pretty jacked, right? That's how it works. And then you'll set the next goal. So you might change 4 out of those 5 exercises continuously over the course of the next 2 or 3 years, just to respond to plateaus and things like that. But that one exercise, which is your marker of progression, you might keep it the same. You might never switch exercises on that. You might always be striving for that big goal. You look at guys like, well, Alex from Alpha Destiny, he just hit his 4 plate aside bench. He's been chasing that for years. He's done a range of different things to try and up his bench press, and he's finally got there. But he always stuck true to the bench press, or at least he didn't stray far from it if he did, because he did some variations. He always had that goal in the back of his head. And look at him, the guy's jacked. That's how you get jacked, people, right? That's how you get big. That's how you get strong. So if you are going to switch an exercise out, what I would say is, if it's a major exercise, that's a major marker of progression for you, which you should have, then be very careful about switching that out, because then how else are you going to track your progression in that area? So you know that if your bench press is going up over the next 5 years, then you're improving in your chest, your shoulders, your triceps, okay? Everything else can get switched around, but that one, you may want to stick to that. You may even mess around with the rep ranges a little bit, which is okay. But that would be going from, say, 6s to 8s to 10s. But generally, you stick to the bench press because that's your marker of progression. So in terms of sticking to the exercise, there are probably going to be 3-ish exercises that you almost never switch out, all right? Next thing is why people think they want to switch exercises around for exercise variety. My question to you guys is, what makes you think you need variety, right? It's one of those things, isn't it? It's what we just sort of automatically assume we need it. Like, yeah, I need variety. Why? Oh, because, and then if you boil it down, if you take the arguments further back, it ends up at Joe Weider in the 1960s talking about the muscle confusion principle, which, God bless Joe, love the guy, but we now know is pretty much nonsense, right? Yeah, you need a variety of exercises, but you don't need to constantly be changing things. You don't need the muscle confusion, bombing and blitzing, all that stuff. What you need to do is you need to get strong on a handful of exercises. So my question is, why do you feel you need it? And it's like I say the same thing when people say, okay, I'm just starting off at the gym. Tell me what supplements I need. Do I need creatine? Do I need whey protein? I'm like, why? Why do you feel you need those things? Let's discover that first. What do you think the whey protein shakes, Faz? Are they good? I get that question a lot. It's like, well, why? What are you trying to accomplish with it? How does it fit into your diet overall? Have you thought about these things even? But no, I just thought I should be taking protein because I'm at the gym now. It's like, yeah. And it's such a common question. Oftentimes I get it from parents whose kids train. Like, yeah, should I get my son or daughter like a protein shake? Like, how does it fit in? It's not an easy question to answer because you've got to pick it apart. And it's the same with exercise variety. Before asking the question, like, when should I change exercises? Why don't we ask the question, why do you feel you need to change exercise? There's that first. If you don't have a concrete reason, and I'm running through them now, then you don't switch to exercise. You carry on progressing. Final 2 things are, have you addressed diet? So I did a video called Your First Strength and Muscle Plateau, and I'll link it over there. It's a really good video because it looks at how diet affects your muscle building progress. And this idea that the first time you stall, you should probably address diet first. And when you do, you'll notice a big boost in strength in the gym. And that will be the lesson you learn to go, yes, diet, training are connected. So have you actually addressed diet? Now, a lot of people, they don't make that connection ever. And they just carry on being, 10 stone and whatever, right? They never progress. So they never make the connection. They get stall and they try a bunch of other stuff and they continue to stall And then some people get a little bit further. They might get to a decent level of strength, but they just carry on stalling. So address diet, make sure you understand the connection between diet and training, because there is a strong connection there. And the next thing is, have you addressed sleep or stress? Guys will come up to you and go, yeah, I'm not gaining, sleep isn't great, but what supplements can I take? It's like, come on, guys, you're stepping over $100 bills to pick up nickels, right? Address the sleep first, never mind the supplementation, never mind the creatine, never mind the whey protein. Get the big rocks in order first before you do anything else. So that would apply. Have you got all those things in check before you start to think about switching around exercises? Because if you don't, you could actually harm your progress, right? And as I said earlier, an exercise that you change out is not an exercise you're going to be progressing on. Think about it in that way. That's how you should think about it. Like, changing exercises in your routine should be a big deal. It's like, oh, I'm changing exercises. Am I really going to get some benefit out of doing it? It's not just automatic benefit, all right? It's not. It really isn't. So let's have a look at when you should switch your exercises around. I say this, like, if you are gaining on the overall on a body part, but that one exercise is lagging and it's not a marker of progression, then you're well within your rights at that stage to potentially think about changing the exercise. So let's say, for example, let's take the chest as an example again. Everyone likes that. So let's say you do the bench press, you do the incline press, you do dips, you do a dumbbell movement, and you do cable flies, just off the top of my head, right? But let's say your incline press is stalling out, but everything else is still going up, but your incline press is stalling out. Okay, fine. Is it definitely stalling? Have you waited out 2 weeks? Have you not had anything on it? It might be even you dropped a rep or two. It's definitely the problem. All right, cool. So then it's a problem. Change it out. Change to a different variation, which is close to the incline press, and see how you get on with that. So you might do incline dumbbell press for a while, or an incline machine press. Cool. So you've gone through all the processes. It's definitely something which is lagging. That exercise in particular, not the muscle group. All right, change it around. Now, what I also say is, I generally like to change my assistance exercises around every 3 to 4 months anyway. So I keep my main exercise the way it is, but I like to make some minor changes around about every 3 or 4 months. So let's say, for example, a barbell extension, so for the triceps, might turn into a dumbbell extension. Something really simple like that. Maybe an overhead dumbbell extension might turn into a cable extension. Real simple stuff. But that's every 3 to 4 months, and it's on a small exercise. The big exercises remain the same. I can tell you guys now, you think in my head about the machines and the exercises that I do at the gym that I go to. I have a plan to max out those machines, right? Like with the seated leg curl, I'm almost there. I've almost maxed the stack. It's a nice heavy machine. So I've almost maxed the stack. And at that stage, I will be happy that I can max it out for a set of 12s I'm doing. If I do that, then great. Then I might look at changing things around. I might look at doing another exercise before that machine, and then that means I will be pre-fatigued, and then I could build it back up again to the whole plate, to the whole stack. You see what I mean? So I'm always trying to progress. So I do like to switch things around every now and again, but I'm trying to make sure I'm getting as strong as possible in those exercises before I switch them, because there's value in getting stronger. There's not really that much value inherently in switching the exercise around. Again, there's value in exercise variety, but exercise variety is very different from switching things around for the sake of it. Okay, so just bear that in mind. The next reason to switch is this: if it's causing you an injury. So the amount of times I've fielded this question over the years: Faz, my triceps hurt every time I do skull crushers. What can I do? Shall I lighten it up? Shall I change up the rep scheme? What should I do? Should I be careful with my foot? Like, bro, you need to stop. So tendonitis doesn't get better with more activity. It generally gets better with rest. And yes, I've heard about doing the heavy negatives and all that kind of stuff. Never worked for me. If it's a tendon strain, rest it. Drop the exercise, rest it. There's been long periods of my life that I've gone without doing direct tricep work, and I've just gotten enough from dips and close grip benches, stuff like that, because a lot of times direct tricep work doesn't really do good for my triceps. Nowadays, I do tricep work in the 25 rep range. It's just one thing I have to do. On compounds, I'm fantastic. Close grip bench, weighted dips, overhead press, great. But sticks to me some direct tricep work, just the way I'm built, always caused me strains. So now I do up to 25 reps and it's A-okay. The final reason that you good reason that you would want to switch exercises is this. If it's boring you. Just kidding. That is not a reason. Get your goddamn gains before you're too old. Get them. Get your gains. Max out every machine in the gym. Max out every barbell. Max out your potential. You've got one life to live. Go ahead and do it. All right, folks. Hopefully that was useful. If you made it this far and you haven't yet subscribed, then go ahead and subscribe. And I will speak to you in the next video. Take it easy. Have a good day.